Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam show. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam show. Turn it up.
What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Chris Featherstone here for yet another episode of Pancakes and Power Slams. As always, we're going to have a wonderful time. Really interesting topic today for the show. It's going to be wonderful, as always. Great time with all of you. Always enjoy having a great time with each and every one of you. And I did an interesting little kind of precursor case study type of deal earlier on my socials, and got some answers. So I appreciate everybody giving their answers for today. And interestingly enough, it falls right into what the subject for tonight is, which is the psychology of a heel turn and why good people go bad. Yikes. All right. So yeah, we're going to have a wonderful time today, and we are going to talk about the Lucifer Effect today. The Lucifer Effect. First of all, thank you so much, everybody, for record-breaking show last week. 1,400 people live, y'all. Thank you so much for your continued support. This show tonight is going to be really, really interesting. So class is going to be lit today. It's going to be really, really interesting. So we are going to have a wonderful time talking about the psychology of a heel turn and the Lucifer Effect. Good guys gone bad. Of course, stemming from John Cena's heel turn recently. And of course, I got to break that down psychologically. So I have some really, really fun, exciting, thought-provoking information, psychological, academic stuff for you tonight. So we're going to have a good time as always. And people saying this right up their alley, and people getting excited. People getting excited for sure. So it's going to be great, guys. It's going to be wonderful. So thank you so much. Everybody come on in. Come on in. And as we continue to bring the people and have a good time, I'm going to get class started here in just a moment. Of course, this is share time in the very beginning of the show. Come on in, share time, and we're going to have a great time. Dr. Chris most definitely in the house. Thank you very, very much. Of course, hashtag Ask Doc is the way to go. And yeah, let's have some fun, y'all. It's going to be a great time, man. Talking about the psychology of a heel turn. Av is in the building, Ricky's in the building, Robert's in the building, Elvis is in the building, and everybody else ready to rock and roll with us. Everybody else, the many, many people that are live right now already. So thank you so much for that. So, man, I'm excited about tonight, man. I'm excited about tonight. I actually been studying about this for a while, and it was a great segue with the Cena turn for me to discuss this. So I actually even bought the book and started reading. About halfway done. It's a long book. It's a 500 and as far as total pages read, it's 488 pages. So yeah, so I've read a bunch of synopsis on it and stuff like that, but I actually wanted to read it. I'm at 222 right now. So I've highlighted some things. I want to read some things specifically from here. I've got some earmarks and some highlights and some bookmarks. And so, man, this is called The Lucifer Effect by Philip Zimbardo, one of the most renowned psychologists, specifically social psychologists. So far, just a fascinating book, fascinating book. And so go check this out, man. Long read. It is a long read. A chunk of it, like a huge chunk of it in the very beginning, stems from the Stanford prison experiment, which Zimbardo was the mastermind behind, and that was in 1971. And so basically the Lucifer Effect stemmed from that. And there was also a study that he did, another experiment he did about a couple of years to a few years before that, that also has a lot to do with this concept of the Lucifer Effect. So be sure to check this out if you want to read it yourself. Of course, as you see, a New York Times bestseller, really loaded book. First it talks about the Stanford prison experiment in great detail, even like day to day, like every single day. It goes into detail, even quoting people, quoting most of the prisoners based on the treatment of the prison guards. And we'll go into detail as far as what that even looks like, going into the Lucifer Effect. Why is the Lucifer Effect even a thing? And he was able to discuss that. So, man, okay, so let's start class. Class is in session. All right, so let's talk about a heel turn. What makes a good person turn evil? As we saw, almost 22 years as a babyface, John Cena turns heel. He goes bad guy. All the Make-A-Wishes, all the record-breaking Make-A-Wishes, all the merch selling, all the lively neon colors for the kiddos, the hustle, loyalty, respect, all of those things. The never give up. Well, he gave up on the kids, and he's lazy, he's disloyal, and he's disrespectful. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the heel of all heels, one of the most memorable, of course, heel turns in the history of pro wrestling, based on the gravity of it. And so, what potentially made someone like a John Cena turn bad guy? Well, guess what? It's in all of us, and let me explain why. So here's the thing: the Lucifer Effect, and I did an interesting study with you all earlier today, and I'm going to discuss those results as well. So the Stanford prison experiment started back in 1971. It was an experiment that young male volunteers were selected. And basically, it was basically a coin flip to determine whether they were the guards or the prisoners. All right. So basically, you had guards or prisoners. You had a coin toss, and they were dressed up. I mean, they had the garb, they had the dress up. You had the guards, and they all were college students. I mean, they all were college age students, and they had an opportunity to dress up and have this type of role play type of deal. They all were just on a equal plane, playing the role as guards and as prisoners. And so, based on a coin flip, you had a batch that were guards, a batch that were prisoners. So around the clock, and they were placed in a simulated prison environment, which was just the basement of the Jordan Hall at Stanford University. So they were placed there, went to the basement. It was like a prison style kind of simulation of a prison. It was like a kind of a room. It was long. If you look at the Stanford prison experiment movie, it came out a while ago, but it was a good depiction of just all of the the craziness that came with this experiment. And so basically the roles were decided by coin toss, and originally it was supposed to be 2 weeks. The duration of the time for this experiment was supposed to be 2 weeks. So basically it was supposed to be like, how do these type of roles in society, how do they act in this particular situation when you have, just even playing field of just regular schmegler college people? How does this power dynamic start to shift from a relational standpoint, even if the prisoners aren't really convicted, even if the guards really don't have that type of authority? So it was really, really interesting how that panned out. So what happened was, the experiment, the study, it only lasted 6 days. It had to be pulled. It had to be removed because of the cruelty that was exhibited by the prison guards to the prisoners. And basically the study led to bouts of anxiety, rage, crying, emotional depression, and by the prisoners, not the guards, but the prisoners. Because interestingly enough, Zimbardo talks about this in his book. He discussed how the prisoners actually felt relief, because out of 6 days, we had a couple people who backed out. I'm actually going to read some quotes from the book. There was one prison guard that was just, I mean, there were several breakdowns, and one of them actually wanted to go home, and there were other people who broke down, throughout the entire 6 days. And so basically what happened was with one of the prisoners, he said this. He said, basically because he was in so much distress, Zimbardo had to come in, and he said this. He said, "Listen carefully to me now. You're not 819." And so, of course, he was prisoner 819. They went by numbers, and we're going to talk about that as far as just the dehumanization of people, which causes someone else to become more aggressive toward their type of behavior once they start to dehumanize someone. And so, of course, these people weren't necessarily known by names. They were known by prison numbers. And we even see that to this day when it comes to someone mostly being known by their number. So this is what Zimbaldi, because he was going through so much. He was going through so much. He was going through a lot of stress and ready to leave. And he said this. He rushed to check on prisoner 819. And he said, "Listen carefully to me now. You're not 819. You are Stewart. And my name is Dr. Zimbardo. I'm a psychologist, not a prison superintendent. And this is not a real prison. This is just an experiment. And those guys in there are just students like you. So it's time to go home, Stewart. Come with me now. Let's go." He stops sobbing, wipe away the tears, straightens up, and looks to my eyes. He looks like a small child awakening from a nightmare, assured by his parents that it is not a real monster and everything will be fine once he fully accepts the truth. "Okay, Stu, let's go." And that's really interesting, man, because everybody knew that this was an experiment. They knew that they were college kids. They knew that there was their colleagues. But because of the cruelty, they had to strip down. They had to, they're doing like performing, like they were doing like sexual type of humiliating displays. They had to clean toilets by hand. They were really doing some things that were really cruel. And and the guards really started to amp it up. And basically there was another situation that more prisoners broke down. Prisoner 1037 later said that the worst part of the experiment was, quote, "the time when the guards gave me the feeling that they were expressing their true inner feelings and not just the guard role they were playing. For example, there were some times during the exercise periods when we prisoners would be pushed to the point of real suffering. Some guards seemed to really enjoy our agony." So that this is prison guards. These are prison guards who are supposed to be that justice authoritarian view, authoritative, even from a protective and just making sure that everything's like cool and in order. And you're supposed to be, these prisoners are displayed as the good guys. At least they're supposed to be, but they were the heels of all this. And the prisoners, the ones who came in as the heels, they were the ones who were cruelly treated. And we even talk about this when it comes to, we'll talk about this when it comes to some situations that happen. And Zimbardo even explained this. It was something that happened in 2004 where military, someone who's in the military, a reservist, basically he and a whole bunch of people were really, really cruel to some Iraqi detainees. And we'll talk about that in a minute. As far as just another episode of, you have these authoritarian people and these, in this equipment, in these particular like uniforms, so to speak. And even the people who you want to protect, they oftentimes there's situations, and we've seen it, within the media and things like that. There are times where the people who are portrayed to be good, who are supposed to be good, they go rogue on this, man. So the Lucifer Effect really, really explain that, and we'll be talking about more stuff in the book here. So basically, while the mastermind was, like I said, a social psychologist named Philip Zimbardo, he coined the term Lucifer Effect. And this experience showed how good people can commit evil acts. Zimbardo defined evil as this. He defined evil as, quote, the exercise of power. And this is one of his TED Talks from like 16, 17 years ago. He defined it as, quote, the exercise of power to intentionally harm psychologically, hurt physically, and or destroy mortally and commit crimes against humanity. That's basically what he defined evil to be. An example of this, like I told you before, was the 2004 sentencing of 8 years to a guy named Ivan Chip Frederick. He was an Army reservist from Birmingham, Virginia, who pleaded guilty to 8 counts of abusing and humiliating Iraqi detainees in Abu Ghraib, and it's like west of Bangkok or Baghdad, west of Baghdad. And so, yeah, him and a bunch of other people, I mean, even court-martialed to be tough on them, and they were really, really tough. I mean, I saw a lot of the images, and it was really difficult to see. I mean, it was really, really rough to see. I mean, people that were stripped and they were beaten. They were taking videos of just the humiliation and the abuse, and they were taking pictures and photos, and one with her, thumb, sticking her thumb out, and is smiling. And Fredericks was one of the people that was charged because he was one of the people who were viewed as doing some of the most humiliating things. But there were several people that were basically targeted of being committing these humiliating acts to these people in west of Baghdad. And so, yeah, it's another situation. I mean, there's many situations of why good people go bad. So basically, Zimbardo, he defined the Lucifer Effect as the mind's infinite capability to make us behave kind or cruel, caring or indifferent, creative or destructive, and make us villains or heroes. And so basically, from a psychological standpoint, anyone is susceptible. And this is interesting, man, because the Lucifer Effect really ties into my model of therapy quite a bit, because my PhD is in forensic psychology. I also have a master's degree in psychology. So when I'm giving therapy, when I'm doing my work as a therapist, that type of everyone is just one decision away from just a completely deviant path. That's really how I look at a lot of my kind of like a backdrop, because that's why, like, when people give me stuff, when people tell me stuff, I don't get like awed and shocked about it. I don't get wowed about it, like shocked and surprised. And so it's really interesting, man, when someone gives me like, yeah, you might be surprised at this. I don't get I don't get surprised, shocked. I'm like, I don't really do that. It's just everybody has that ability to just act as deviant. I mean, we've seen it everywhere, man. We've seen it in the government. We've seen it in the military. We've seen it in clergy. We've seen it at jobs. Bernie Madoff, for instance, man, just someone who was just an incredibly rich guy, just started to use his securities and exchanges, and he started to use that as a Ponzi scheme, man, and just kept going and kept going, and just, I mean, just basically drained many people out of millions of dollars, man. Everybody is that, and the thing is, oftentimes it becomes gradual. It becomes gradual. It becomes someone, stealing a pen from work, and that turning into stealing a ream of paper, from work, and that turns into stealing petty cash. I mean, it's just because what happens is our mind, man, we have this defense mechanism to want to even from a Freudian standpoint, man, it's the id, the ego, the superego when it comes to that type of dynamic, the psychoanalytical dynamic. You have like that pleasure principle, and then like a bad, like a devil on your shoulder and an angel on one, and then you're conscious to balance the both of them. And so basically you have the bad cop, or the devil on your shoulder, to want to be satiated by those pleasures. And it's always that tug of war, and it's really, everything's just a decision away. Everything that you do, it's really a decision away from staying on a right path, which always have better benefits in the end. But then there's just those momentary pleasures, man, that has that ability to just temporarily and quickly give you some pleasure, and then it becomes easily addictive, man. That's when dopamine kicks in, and you just keep going there. And so when you start gradually going into deviant behavior, what happens a lot of times is your body, your brain is conflicting. It's, again, the id, the ego, the superego. It's that model, that framework of like, oh man, do I get the petty cash from the drawer? And yeah, but I know, but okay, no, I can't do that. Okay, but I do need to cash this at the bank. Yeah, what, it won't hurt to keep this 50 cent. I mean, I do need to catch the bus, so it won't hurt to get this 50 cent. Okay, well, now I got to catch the bus next week. $1 won't hurt, and then $50 won't hurt. What? And then and then cognitive dissonance comes in, and even the book talks about cognitive dissonance too. So what happens is cognitive dissonance starts to come in, and then you start to justify this pattern of behavior. And so 50 cents turns into $1, turns into $50, turns into $1,000. Oh, the bank's it's not going to hurt the bank if I take $1,000. Maybe one day I'll, get $1,000 back, and I'll just kind of slide it in there. Like, those are the type of thoughts that you start to war with, and then you start to justify. And that's what happens when someone gets into the cognitive dissonance. You start to justify your behaviors, and even from a confirmation bias standpoint. And so what happens with that is you start to go further into the depths of darkness. A perfect example of this is Jim Jones. Back in 1978, of course, many people know it's one of the most publicized mass, deaths in American history, in world history, really. And so over 900 people, basically was under his spell. And he started off, in the Midwest, and he started off at church. His goal initially, because I teach cult psychology too. So Jones's goal, he looked at like more underprivileged and underserved, a lot of Black community too. He actually looked at, and he actually started to have that type of revolt, in a lot of black circles, and that stop clap type of church mentality and revving them up with good preaching. He actually looked at that, and he saw and he prayed on that. I mean, he saw the ability to expand his mission, using that space, using that people group. And then he started migrating more out west, and then he went to Guyana, and in the jungle of Guyana, basically that became Jonestown, and then it became more of a concentrated opportunity to really kick it into high gear as far as the things that he would do and the agenda that he would do. And so, I mean, even when, there were reports of people, being abused, physically and sexually, and being forced to do things, a lot of abuse that were reported. And so, he was really a mastermind. He was heavily on stuff, I mean, there was many reports of how much he was on substances and things like that. And it got to the point that he was so absolutely just mesmerized by his own power that he would be on, speakers throughout the night. There would be loudspeakers all throughout the camp. And so it got really, really bad. And of course, for the betterment, for the good of the order, so to speak, for the betterment of the mission, to be an antagonist to this government model, this structure of they're trying to get us. And basically that led to let's all just go together, and it was still kind of like love bombing. Even in that, there was just mission to collectively just go out together. And so either by cyanide or by a gunshot wound, about 912 was one of the numbers that is one of the popular numbers that were out. It's over 900. I suspect about 912, and over 200 of those were kids, man. So very, very difficult. But that right there is one of the prime examples of the Lucifer effect. This person was a preacher. He went from a preacher to a cult leader. And then you think about, was it always his mission? Zimbardo would favor to say maybe he had good intentions at the beginning. Maybe he really wanted to start a revolt, to really give the opportunity to give attention, fair attention to the underserved and the underprivileged and the minority groups. Perhaps we don't know his brain. Perhaps that was the thing. But the more that this revolt spread, the more that this, mission increased, the more that adversity started he just got into a point of just corruption, just absolute corruption. Could that have been initially his focus to just be, one of those corrupt preachers that gain that could be the case too. But what we do know is whatever the start of it was, it gradually got worse by his actions. Lucifer effect at its core. And unfortunately, when it comes to these people who are part of this, the Lucifer effect, oftentimes people obey orders not because it's the right thing to do, but it's the easy thing to do. And so we talked about the Milgram experiment before, as far as just you have people who was the example. You have people that came in, one was on one side, one was on the other side. And, basically because that person had that type of authority with the lab coat, he was telling him, he was giving them orders, and they got to the point of even going past their personal kind of morality levels at the expense of this is for the betterment of the authority. I'm going to believe that the authority is above my level of understanding and moral code and things like that. And so, yeah, it's a really interesting concept, man. And that's the reason, and there's three things that Zimbardo discussed, and I'll even talk about the psychological definitions of a couple of them, and then one psychological study, some psychological studies to support the other one too. He talked about a few of them here. He actually talked about a couple of them too, as far as just the need, just social, the need to be liked and wanted and all that. But he talked about three things in particular, because in his view, as one dives further into the depths of darkness, another important factor is to discuss is the loss of personal responsibility. And we talked about, I was just discussing, just even with this kind of allegiance to this Jones cult, even the Milgram experiment, it talked about these individuals, they grow a personal loss of responsibility, and then that gives them an opportunity to gain a sense of anonymity. And when someone gains a sense of anonymity, they start to really kick into deviant behavior or immoral behavior. I mean, there's plenty of examples. Say, for instance, if there's a movement that is kind of really it's not civil, it's disorganized, it's really uncivil. When people band together and get to the point where uniforms are involved, or outfits are involved, or masks are involved, or anything like that, you start to lose individuality. And there's a concept that's called de-individualization. So that is defined psychology from the APA is American Psychological Association, is a loss of self-awareness, altered perceptions, and a reduction of inner restraints that results in the performance of usual and sometimes antisocial behavior. This is also often caused by a feeling of sense of anonymity or submersion in a group, as I just said. So basically what this looks like is, like I said, the organizations of people are masked in some way, banding together. Cyber bullying is another thing, as far as, I mean, that happens a lot. That happens a lot when it comes to the cyberspace. And that's the reason why we talked about the IWC. I did a class on the IWC and what's wrong with professional wrestling. And it was voted that the IWC, why is that the case? Because what happens is, when it comes to the IWC and even any type of cyber or attempted cyber bullying is so rampant nowadays, is because you have a lot of people who are begging for attention and is dealing with really heavy bouts of insecurity and loneliness, which actually loneliness is one of the foundations, one of the core reasons for trolling behavior. And so what happens is like initial trolling behavior, someone who's just like a constant troll and just goes around and just trolls and trolls. And so what happens is you have a sense of anonymity. You have like a de-individualization, because you can post, you have like a veneer or even a protector of social media to separate you from your feelings and your emotions. So it gives you an opportunity to really exercise your dark, deep emotions without feeling bad about it. And that's very prominent when it comes to this cyber social media, internet stuff that we deal with. You have people who are very emotionally unstable and immature. And so instead of working on it and doing the work and operate their prefrontal cortex and their limbic system, their emotional processing system like adults, they basically they use cognitive dissonance, and they justify it through the anonymity of internet. And so oftentimes you wonder, like, why are people just being so unforgiving and just vile and just, un- uncouth, just a real, this rage and just angry, and so easily. So they're emotionally stimulated negatively so easily because of de-individualization, because they're able in their minds to be able to separate that and create that veneer. And so then they feel so comfortable with doing that, with posting things like that. This typically isn't conversations that an adult who would post that stuff on social media, they won't have this conversations in real life with people. One, because of just their own personal insecurities. And then two, you would look like an idiot in real life because people will look at you as being emotionally irresponsible. But guess what? In the world of cyberness, in the world of the internet, that's not as much of a vetting process. There's not really any vetting process when it comes to that. So it gives you it gives you a greater sense of comfort to dive into those dark depths of your feelings and express them, because guess what? You know that there's a community of other people who are also diving into those dark recesses of their minds without feeling like they have to represent themselves in a civil manner in real life. So they go into like fake social media universes, and they are mobby. They're very angry and emotional. And that's exactly where we get de-individualization from. That's a great example of de-individualization when it comes to the Lucifer effects, and why people can go into those dark recesses. And guess what? Even the most emotionally stable people, if they don't really work on understanding, not giving in to those people and not responding and not going back and forth, of course, all of us are prone to be tempted and even fall to it at times. But the less you are engaged to that, the more you're able to see reality from dark recesses of emotional, just like volcanic feelings, and that's explained on social media. So when you have conversations with people, when you see people respond in such erratic ways, emotionally unstable ways, you have to understand it from a psychological standpoint. This person or these people are using this as an opportunity to really express their deep, dark, unmanaged feelings that they really need to focus on being better at. So that's the de-individualization part. The dehumanization part is defined as any process or practice that is thought to reduce human beings to the level of mechanisms or non-human animals, especially by denying them autonomy, individuality, and a sense of dignity. So this often comes when people are, again, we're talking about people who are diving into the dark recesses of their emotions, and they're bringing it out without properly managing it. And this is all, when it comes to dehumanization, it's easy for someone to think or even call someone out of their name in order for that to give them a gateway or an access to be more emotional, to exhibit themselves more emotional, and to talk and react that way. It's really, really easy to get into ad hominem attacks and things like that, because that gives someone access to feel more comfortable with displaying their emotional instability and just their vitriolic mindset when they're talking to people. And even from there was a study that talked about, there was a group of college students that were like authority figures over other college students, and it was a group of people. It was a group of students that were authority figures, so they were portrayed to be authority figures over other college students. And basically, what happened was they gave better treatment to people who were described better than the treatment. They gave lesser and more disrespectful treatment to people who were labeled as dehumanizing terms, non-human terms. And so that's interesting, that if someone is even labeled as something or a term or something, what happens is it gives someone access to dive into those deep, dark parts, to be able to express themselves to someone and to prove themselves of talking or acting like that towards someone. That's the reason why it's easy for someone to start off with demeaning or thinking about someone in a very demeaning way in order for them to justify their behavior towards them. So that goes into dehumanization. So the third thing is euphemistic language. So that's deceptive language it basically frames people's thoughts and it sways them in a very manipulative way. So going back to the Milgram experiment, they said that this experiment was contributing to science. When the U.S. When the U.S. military went and U.S. authority system and entourage and the U.S. just troops, when they went to the Abu Ghraib, Abu Ghraib, what happened was they were the point of, or basically their pitch or their angle was they wanted to be sure to take care of the ills or this people group who were disrespectful and enemies of United States. And so basically that gave them, like, in their minds, that gave them access to treat them in any kind of way. And so, and they did. And of course they ended up serving jail time. So when it comes to John Cena and The Rock, basically John Cena was a babyface for so long. He did all those things. He was such a good guy for so long. And what happened was, as we'll continue to see with this final boss thing, there's a sense of authority with The Rock being this final boss. Even though he won the Elimination Chamber, even though he has an opportunity to be able to go against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, he didn't need The Rock at all. He didn't need The Rock one bit. But what happened was, there was something about John Cena that was convinced by the Cody Rhodes not selling his soul. that caused him to align himself, and basically all the good intentions that he's been doing for so long. He said, you know what, I'm going to separate myself from all that goodness, because one, I know it's for um, it's for a higher purpose, which is the alignment with the rock as the authority. That's when it comes to the de-individualization. And I'm going to do this, and I'm going to turn heel on Cody Rhodes, because I've separated myself from that moral code enough. And I've also used the authority factor of, I did it for the rock, as Rikishi would say, that we saw that. We saw the greater, this really twisted and dark greater purpose to be able to justify ill behavior. We even saw it with Naomi, with attacking Jay Cargill, doing it for Bianca. That's that de-individualization. That's that ability to separate yourself from your moral code of doing something in exchange for doing it for the benefit of someone else, someone who there's an allegiance to, oftentimes an authority figure, but even someone who there's an allegiance to. We see a lot of this within like gang mentality and things like that. The ability to there's a concept called belongingness, the ability to or the sense of belonging, doing things to feel accepted in a community or a group or a society, and then starting to de-individualize and becoming a part of the group, and losing your type of ability to think clearly and to question things, and to be able to look at properly vet authority to see if this authority figure has ill intent, is malicious. But when you get to that de-individualization, those types of important decision-making factors, they start to wane in exchange for the greater good of whatever the cause is. And so we shall see where John Cena lies in all of this. But of course, the end of the book of the Lucifer Effect, it also talks about heroism. And so, the ability for someone who's a bad guy to turn good. And so, perhaps we'll finish the end of the book, the second half of the book, or toward the end of the book, when it comes to heroism or the hero effect. If John Cena turns babyface from all of this devious heel turn, taking out Cody after 22 years almost, going to the dark side, I just explained in depth why a good guy turned bad, the Lucifer effect. But could the hero effect also be discussed? We shall see, based on where John Cena lies. And if he does turn babyface, we'll revisit this. We'll revisit the book, and we'll talk about the hero effect, ladies and gentlemen. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the class. It was a lot of fun talking about the psychology of a heel turn. Why do good people turn bad? Wow. So far, thank you so much for your support. We'll get to the questions here. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the question cast. All right, let's get into it. All right, let's get into this real quick before we get to the after party. How come I didn't miss being on Sports Kid. It's on Wrestle Room now, so go join Wrestle Room. Yeah, there's a couple of outlets. I think just go to Wrestle Room, Sports Kid Wrestle Room. Let's see. You're the party man. Any ideas what I can do for Mania Watch Alone at home? Why don't you? You have a podcast, right? So why don't you why don't you make it a thing on your podcast, man, and bring some people to watch it? Don't show anything related to WWE though, because they will flag you and they will delete. They will delete your live stream, like probably like while you're on live stream, they will delete it. Delete. What wrestling inspired food could I have for your a Mania watch party? Wrestler inspired food. You can have a turkey leg from the Wild Samoans. You can have some WWE ice cream bars. There you go. Zubair insulted you on his YouTube channel today by calling you my little idol because I have respect for you. Okay, I don't care about that. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. Let's see here. We have Robert speaking about heel turn. Is going to be interesting how they play out Ray Phoenix heel turn while Gable being interviewed. Will Penta be tied into it or slow heel turn of Penta intriguing options? That's interesting. That's an interesting question. Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. I mean, you don't want to put Penta with Ray Phoenix already, especially when they're trying to, unless you do Pete Dunne and Kaiser coming together. I mean, you've got an easy WrestleMania match right there. You've got Dunne, like you can have Pete Dunne and Kaiser attack Penta, and then Ray Phoenix makes the save, and then that's the tag match: Penta and Phoenix against Kaiser and Pete Dunne. I'm sure Pete Dunne and Kaiser would love that opportunity to be featured at WrestleMania. That's a great moment for them. I definitely think it would be a step down for Penta, especially how they booked him before. I was told that he was supposed to be have a really good showing at the Royal Rumble, leading into a good spot at WrestleMania. And my report was right because he was the Iron Man at the Royal Rumble. And so when it comes to a good showing to WrestleMania, of course, as we know, plans change all the time. I'm not sure if a good showing is in the tag match against Penta and Pete Dunne. I mean, against Ludwig Kaiser and Pete Dunne. Not because of Ludwig Kaiser or Pete Dunne, because I think both of those, especially Kaiser, man. Kaiser, he's got so much potential in him. But because they're still doing this, I wouldn't be surprised if Phoenix came in as a tag partner to that. I think that Penta being in a multi-person Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania would be a good spot for him. But if he does come in heel and is brought in by Gable, I think that would be a weird spot. If he's the person behind the mask, you got all this big hype, weeks of hype videos or teasers for Penta, and then you have Ray Phoenix coming in with Chad Gable as the person behind the mask. That would not be good. No. Elvis did not become a Steelers fan.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Absolutely not, man. Never. Hashtag Ask Doc is the way to go. Let's see here. Let's go back to boo. Axe Doc. Axe Doc is the way to go. How would I book your heel turn? Just always book The Rock. Be a general manager. Always book The Rock winning. And then that's going to eventually have people boo you. Let's see here, Robert. I was thinking maybe WWE should make Cena a new t-shirt during his retirement tour. hustle, loyalty, disrespect. There you go. Very nice. Who's the current best heel? Elvis is asking. Ooh, the current best heel? Ew. The Rock is a good heel right now, man. Really good heel. I don't know yet. I mean, too early to call when it comes to Cena. He's made a heel turn. We don't know how he is as a heel. It's been 22 years almost. So yeah. The Rock. Yeah. Yeah. Last year was Drew, but I mean now, The Rock, I guess you can say. James, it's funny. I was watching Royal Rumble 2000 earlier today on Peacock, and it was in Madison Square Garden. The whole show was amazing, even the mid-card matches. So WWE had no excuse yesterday. That's true. Very true. Very true. Who would I have as the heel and Rock versus Punk versus Rollins? I mean, that's just a weird match to me, man. I guess Rollins, but he's been making heel stuff, and he's been making heel moves anyways, and I think this whole thing is just weird, man. Honestly, got to have faces and heels. All this tweener stuff and gray area stuff, man. That's the reason why like characters don't thrive, because they don't have people really booing them or really cheering them. It's just, maybe one day we'll cheer you, maybe one day we'll boo you. I mean, who wants to be that guy? Like, nah, man, make me a heel. If people want to boo me, I'm going to give them a reason to boo me. Absolutely, man. Make me a heel. If I'm man, come on now. If people are like, hey, I don't like that guy. Okay, sweet. I got you. I got you. I'll make sure of that. Because guess what, man? In this beautiful, beautiful thing we call life, at the end of the day, you're going to end up being a baby face anyways in the long run, man. They're going to eventually like you again. So heal it up, man. A lot of times that's the pendulum effect. Heal it up. Then all of a sudden, you become a huge baby face, man. We see it all the time. Comments by D'Lo Brown this week, and if he were to ever go to the WWE, that he would only go if Draws goes in with him. I was happy because we were close. I know you and Draws were close, man. I do know that. Naomi's promo, when I saw Naomi's promo, yeah, you was right. She's not a good heel on the mic. Yeah, I told y'all, man. I told you. Not buying it. Not getting it. Not buying it. With Elvis' question, I'll probably go KO 1 and Rock 2 is best current heel. Owens is good. Owens is just, Owens is one of those people, though, man. Yeah, I mean, he's one of those things. He does really good at being a heel. He's really good, man. He's really good. He's just like, it just feels like there's always a ceiling with Kevin Owens, man, unfortunately. So, all right. Like I said, X-Doc is the way to go to bring it on the screen. Hey, let's get those subs up. Let's get those subs up, y'all. Man, I hope y'all enjoyed class today. I really, really liked it. I thought it was great. I had a really fun time talking about this. Pestilano's in the building. Just got back from NXT Roadblock, a decent show. All wrestling, no nonsensical, long drawn out promos or sing along like the ones we get on Raw and SmackDown. We get a live reaction coming back from NXT Roadblock from Michael Pestilano. What's up, Josh? I'm well, man. Appreciate you stepping in. Dirty Dom is the best current heel. I disagree with that. I think he is definitely not the best current heel. I think Logan Paul's up there too. Logan Paul actually might take the cake. I think he's fantastic as a heel, man. KO is good too. The Rock is good. Logan Paul's good. I'll give them up there. All right. One last Shout out to one last acknowledgement. The Lucifer Effect by Philip Zimbardo is the reference, one of the main reference points of this class for today. Be sure to get it. So far, really good really good read, and really focusing and going in depth about the Stanford prison experiment back in 1971, day by day, and then using those experiences to discuss many things regarding the Lucifer Effect. So we all get to understand why good guys turn bad, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thanks everyone for the answers to the what I sent earlier, actually. So I sent this picture. I'm gonna close with this based on the results of your study, the results of the study that I gave y'all earlier. All right. So I gave everybody this picture, and I said, what is the first thing that you see? All right. So I did that with the very first thing that you see. Like the very first thing to stick out. Boom. All right. An overwhelming majority. The overwhelming majority of people said bats. Bats. Yeah. Overwhelming majority of people said bats. There's some people who said angels. Even people said demons. But most of the people say bats. And this is what I'm going to close what he says about this, because there's actually angels and bats in that picture. But most of the people say bats because that's the first thing that they see when there's an equal amount of angels in the same picture. Zimbardo says this. This is from MC Escher, called Circle Limit 4. That's the image. That's the name of the image. And Zimbardo said this. He said, first, the world is filled with both good and evil, was, is, will, always will be. Second, the barrier between good and evil is permeable and nebulous. And third, it is possible for angels to become devils, and perhaps more difficult to conceive for devils to become angels. Deep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 674 of the Pancakes and Power Slam show. This was an amazing time as always. And with that being said, enjoy your week of rest and God bless. And always remember, I do it for you. Have a good night, everybody. So long.